Okay, Ken. I want to talk about this movie on your website. Now, what's the movie's name?
The opening act.
And what's the website name?
Way, Ken-post.com.
What's the way bit? You mean www?
Yeah, I live in Belgium now. It's way.
Okay. So it's kenprost.com. Kenpost.com. It's not that other complicated name you were going on about earlier.
No, that's mine, not mine.
In the other interviews now.
Something else.
Okay, so you've been asking a long time. You say a total of 15 years.
20 years almost now.
20 years. Now, you were talking earlier about England. How difficult is it in England for you?
Well, I used, when I first started coming on my busking tours, I would go to England for a week or two in the early 90s. I'd go to London and
What was it like then? Was it good? Was it more free then? You could do it? No problem?
Well, not really. I never had too much success in England. I'd go to
Right.
London and I'd go to the open mics and nothing much ever happened.
And how old were you when you were doing this? We're talking about
How old was I?
30? 35?
At least, yeah.
Okay, so you're an old contestant. Even then.
Always, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I guess my only alternative was to play on the streets. And because I really wanted to make my living making music, and I did not want to work on Maggie's farm anymore,
Okay.
I started playing seriously and hard and long on the street.
Okay, this film. What's the inspiration for the film?
Well, in 2000, I went on tour busking in front of all of Bob Dylan's shows in Europe. And a few years later, I decided, well, shit, I want to film it. And the Rolling Stones were always an inspiration, and I decided to use them as the background for a busking movie.
Right, so what's the busking movie called, actually?
The opening act.
The opening act. And so you were what I would call an opening act for the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan fans, as they got to the auditorium, or were outside the auditorium. And one of the problems you said earlier about what you were doing, which I think is a fantastic thing. If I was going to a concert and some guy turned up with a guitar, playing some music, that would just vibe me up straight away. Okay, so I would see it as a very plus positive thing to do. But in the north of England, you said you've had some bad experiences there. So a little bit about Birmingham, Liverpool, kind of treatment. How was it?
Well, this
Birmingham.
They've got I guess it's a fairly new, the NIA, isn't it? The National Indoor Arena?
Yeah, okay, but let's move on to the treatment. Not so much the arena. I want to know about...
they wouldn't let me play in the area surrounding the arena at all.
At all, yeah.
And they told me to go across a bridge,
yeah.
Which I went across a bridge to this area where there was a lot of restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried to play there, and I played there for a few songs, and then security told me that I couldn't do it. And then I talked to some customers, and they said security even told them they were drinking 6 inches over the line. Excuse me, sir. You're drinking 6 inches over the line. Would you move back, please?
Okay, they really said that. That's hard to imagine in England. 2 million people died, and that's what they say. That's terrible, isn't it? Okay, let's move on. Liverpool.
So Liverpool has a brand new arena on the Mersey, the River Mersey.
Mm.
And I got there a day early. And I went up to the security people because I didn't want to waste my time.
Yeah.
And I asked them if I could, what would happen if I busked there the next night. And they said, you can't. You can't do it at all. So I said, where can I busk? And again, they said, across the bridge. Try across the bridge. So
sounds a good title for a song, actually. And maybe someone's trying to tell you something.
So when I went across the bridge, the first thing I see is security guys there. in the restaurant area. I mean, they
Right.
were all there. So I went up to them and I asked them if I could play, and they said, "Not in the public areas.
Not in the
Not
public
in the
areas.
public areas. You could try the bars, but not in the public areas."
Yeah, that's interesting. 2 million people died in World War II fighting off this Nazi idea, condition, and control, and all that. And that's happening here. It kind of makes you wonder why they did it. The poor sods, you know?
People forget real
People
quickly.
forget. Don't you think with me, or agree with me, that one of the last bastions of freedom is the freedom to move around and go about your trade? Apply your trade as a artist, musician,
Yeah,
painter, whatever.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
they've made it so. In the last 15 years, they made it so easy for capital to go across borders, but people don't have the same freedom as that capital moving across borders.
Well, there is that. That's a slightly different issue. The people moving. I'm talking about a perspective of doing your art, doing it openly, and at the same time not having to be subjected to, or have that freedom taken away, where you can go out and play your thing, play your music. And what you're saying is that this country now is becoming more and more difficult.
Well, it's never been easy in this country. Apparently, it was the situation in America was never real easy either.
Do you think it's scared of music? The influence it has? And it started with the Beatles, on the rooftop.
Yeah, well, the Beatles on the rooftop.
We all saw how they turned everybody onto drugs, and in the eyes of the government, and that they pushed it too far, doing a roof gig, and making everybody happy, of course. But the government are a government and not necessarily seen, which they should be, as managers of a country.
Nobody apparently wants you to enjoy yourself unless you're enjoying yourself to their message.
Well, perhaps the message is, get out there, climb the greasy pole, get good, get big, get famous, earn the money, buy your house, and join the rock royalty. Perhaps that's what it's all about, really. And if you're not part of the rock royalty, oh, come on.
Yeah, it's the same thing, huh? It's very strange, but people, I don't know what to say. I mean, why? I've got a song about that. And
Rock
one
royalty.
of the lines is, "Why some become rich and famous is a curious thing to speculate. When we all have our individual magnificence, then it's up to fate. Some are born in the back of taxi cabs, others born on bales of hay. My friend Tony was born on a pool table in Las Vegas when his mama, a dancer, dropped him behind the 8.